Welcome to the NonProfit Voice, a podcast series brought to you by NonProfit Pro, the go-to resource for nonprofit management and strategy. In each episode, we're going to sit down with leaders of nonprofit organizations, the people responsible for paving the way for our sector, along with key technology strategy partners who are transforming our industry. Here at the NonProfit Voice, we'll have refreshing conversations in which we will all learn more about the convergence of nonprofit and technology. Be sure to follow us on social media and visit our website to find more episodes of the NonProfit Voice. And you can download all of the NonProfit Voice episodes on iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify. We will have all the links down below.
Hi, welcome back to the NonProfit Voice. I'm Amanda Cole, the editor-in-chief of NonProfit Pro and host of today's episode, which is supported by Philadelphia insurance companies. Learn more at phly.com about their 30 years of providing customized insurance solutions that meet the unique needs of nonprofits and social service organizations. Thank you for joining me on today's podcast. We will be discussing how GPS telematics can improve your human service nonprofit's fleet safety and limit liability, in addition to saving the nonprofit money. With us today are Lucas Carvalho, Vice President of Corporate Resources at BAMSI, and Gabriel Bergeron, Regional Manager for Risk Management Services at Philadelphia Insurance Companies. Welcome to you both.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
All right, before we get started, please tell us a little more about yourself. Lucas, let's start with you.
Sure. So I work for a Brockton, Massachusetts-based nonprofit human services organization. Been here for about 17 years. We are $100 million, staff of about 2,000, and we have about 145 vehicles on the road every day.
And Gabriel?
Yeah, I'm the regional manager in the New England region. My staff is spread out amongst the New England states and upstate New York. I've worked with Lucas for a number of years on many of the risk management initiatives, including GPS. So certainly looking forward to the discussion today.
Perfect. So we will explore BAMSI's experience with GPS telematics. But first, Gabriel, can you just give us an overview of what it is?
Yeah, Philly Track and GPS telematics is a technology solution that allows organizations to track a variety of things, both from an operational standpoint, but also from a driving behavioral standpoint that can really manage how drivers are operating those vehicles to identify if someone's more likely to have an accident, which again, through the partnership with Philadelphia Insurance, any organization that has auto coverage can access this resource for no cost. So, BAMSI is an organization that we brought this very early on to, and fortunately they took advantage of it, after a couple discussions.
Okay, perfect. So nonprofits are sometimes, as you mentioned, hesitant about implementing GPS telematics. BAMSI fell into that category at first. So Lucas, can you tell us about your organization's progression from being a skeptical to an enthusiastic user of GPS telematics?
Yeah, so we went from being, we don't want this product because we don't know what to do with the data. So what happens when we actually receive speeding alerts? How are we going to handle it? Is it going to increase liability for the organization? So that was the initial conversation that we had with Gabe and Philadelphia Insurance. A year later, we decided to try it out. And so it took me probably a couple of months to get the platform ready to roll out to the entire organization. And I just remember the first weekend that I turned on the alerts, the number of alerts that we were receiving was astronomical. The number of alerts that we were receiving, people driving 80 plus miles an hour in the wheelchair van was, again, it was eye-opening. And at that point, I actually reached out to Gabe, and with his guidance, we decided not to roll out all the alerts to all of the entire leadership team at BAMSI. We decided to contain the information to put a plan of action together to see what we can do to improve what we're seeing. And over time, and with patience, we have implemented a system that at BAMSI, we are really just focused right now on speeding alerts. And I think we have been successful in decreasing the number of speeding alerts to a point now where I, as someone that is responsible for the fleet, I'm rather comfortable at rolling out the alerts to the rest of the leadership team because it's manageable. When you think about the fact that we have 145 vehicles on the road every day, and again, I go back to that summer of 2019 or the spring of 2019, and it was a Friday or Saturday night, and I think I received over 90 alerts in the 12-hour period, and it was concerning. The good thing about the data is that you can actually tell exactly the vehicle, the location. So we started our approach was very granular. We actually contacted the program manager, found out who the driver was, and instead of actually just going through the progressive disciplinary process, where our approach was more of let's try to train these people because they're good people. Everybody makes a mistake, and people bought into the entire idea of being retrained.
Perfect. And that goes right into, I was going to cover next, the time it takes to accomplish all of this. So give us a little bit more on how you were able to modify employees' behaviors and cover any challenges that it may have resulted?
Well, behavior modification doesn't happen overnight. We actually put a system into place where we looked at recurring driver alerts. We actually met with these folks individually. I've actually had conversations with people one-on-one to reinforce the idea that we're not here to actually reprimand you. We're here to actually make your job a little bit easier and safer. And especially with this staffing crisis these days, the last thing we want to do is actually get rid of employees. We just want to remind people that we actually have this information. We know exactly, where you are with the vehicle, what speed you're driving at, and we just want to make sure that everybody's safe. And it got to a point too, is that I reached out to. We lease a lot of Ford Transits, and based on conversations with Gabe and actually Ford Motor Company, the next step in this progression is actually installing speed governors on our vehicles, so the vehicles cannot go past 74 miles an hour. And if you actually get to the point with Ford early enough, you can actually get governors installed at no cost.
Oh, perfect. And are there any ways to help remind employees as well that they are being tracked?
Yeah, so what we did, I printed out a bunch of stickers that I placed on the driver's side window. So as you walk up to the car, it's a gentle reminder that the vehicle is being tracked with GPS technology. And
what advice, Lucas, do you have for nonprofits that might be beginning to explore GPS telematics?
Success doesn't happen overnight. I actually think that a lot of organizations, they want data that fits their narrative, that shows how great they are. And I believe with this information, initially, it's not going to fit your narrative. It's going to show that your employees are probably behaving like everybody else, speeding, hard braking and whatnot. But once you look at the data, I recommend that you reach out to Philadelphia and actually have an honest conversation with your risk management professional and see what we can do or you can do as a team to put a solution into place. Because at the end of the day, what we don't want to do is actually injure people, injure employees, injure the folks that we serve. When I look at accidents, auto accidents, we always focus on the hard cost of accident. How much is the cost to repair a vehicle? But we all know in the nonprofit world, the hidden costs are related to now I have to fill that shift when somebody's out hurt. And these days with the staffing crisis, whatever you can do to keep people on the job happy and lead them to a place where they're successful, it's a no-win situation. It's a win-win situation for the organization.
And I think to Lucas's point, having an honest conversation with Philly and the risk management person that you're working with is a great starting point. In our discovery mode that we initially started at, we took the information, we saw the data, we let the data do some of the speaking for us to the BAMSI management team to help them understand where we're at, right? At the end of the day, the data was showing us that we had an opportunity for improvement, and whether that's financial, whether that's safety, whether that's operationally, and showing that back to the safety committee, the management group, we're able to show progressively how each step of the way, okay, hey, we had a tremendous opportunity in the beginning. It's that each step of the way we're moving in the right direction, and we are acting as a partner rather than sometimes folks think as an auditor on the carrier side that we're going to come in and say, oh, you had a speeding incident, you're going to be in trouble because now that we know about it, that you were going to progressively raise your rates or whatever that might be. And that's certainly not the case with this tool whatsoever. It's a risk consultative tool that allows organizations in Philly to have a more impactful conversation back with our policyholders. But each step of the way, we took that data, we leveraged the wins that we got, every 6 months or so, driving down the alerts, improving the loss data to where, you heard Lucas say, now is that we're well positioned, and now we can push that information out to the greater management team in a more cohesive and effective way and determine where the other opportunities are. Now that could be understanding the cost of the operation of that vehicle. That could be the continued improvement on the workers' compensation exposure that Philly doesn't necessarily cover, but it does affect the bottom line in the organization's mission to keep those folks safe and happy within the employment ranks, as well as the folks they're providing services to. So, BAMSI's been a tremendous partner, especially Lucas, and is, in the way they tried to digest the information in a really proactive, best practice way. And really, Philly is just here to help that process along.
And do you have any stats to show BAMSI's success with after implemented GPS telematics?
Yeah, and again, this is something that, in our role, and whether it's Lucas or myself and the risk management team, we try to let, again, the data do some of the speaking for us. And, a tool like Philly Track statistically across the country has seen a 19% auto loss reduction for any fleet that's taking advantage of the tool. And, where we were at with BAMSI, we actually saw a much better improvement than that. And just because of the position we were starting at, the 2 years prior, on average, we were at 250% loss ratio on the auto physical damage. And then from implementation, we saw a 208% improvement in that auto physical damage loss ratio, which equated to approximately $100,000 year over year in cost savings. So the data shows, hey, we're saving money, right? We're actually seeing the benefit from a claims and cost standpoint. But to Lucas's point, the improvement in general exposure is something that's even more impressive. As he mentioned early on in this process, we saw, hundreds of high speeding alerts coming in each and every day, month, week, and that number has come down, tenfold, from where we started, which again positions the organization for sustained long-term, success, especially with the auto exposure in the work comp side of the house.
Any final thoughts before we wrap?
I just like to mention, I think it's important for a lot of nonprofits to really consider implementing this system. It is a lot of work initially, but to me, it actually helped us improve the safety culture because people live it every day. We went from having a culture where people only thought of safety when the safety committee met once a month or once a quarter, but now we live it every day. We show the data. We actually follow up with program managers and area directors. What's going on with this driver? Have you talked to this driver? And it's a very positive approach to solving a real big issue that we had as an organization. So give it a shot.
Perfect. I think that's a great place to end. So that's all the time we have for today's episode. Thank you for listening. I hope that you learned the ins and outs of GPS telematics, including how it can help your staff and clients be safer on the road, and reduce your nonprofit's liability and costs. Also, thank you to our guests, Lucas and Gabriel, who provided these fantastic insights into GPS telematics for nonprofits' fleet management. On behalf of NonProfit Pro and Philadelphia Insurance Companies, I'm Amanda Cole, and we will see you on the next episode of The NonProfit Voice.
Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The NonProfit Voice. You can listen to more episodes of The NonProfit Voice at nonprofitpro.com/podcast/the-nonprofit-voice. And remember, for your convenience, you can stream any and all episodes of The NonProfit Voice on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify.